rally friends, and welcome back to my post-Rally Sweden kitchen table. It's been a little while, hasn't it, since we talked to you last on the beautiful Port Phillip Bay, I think it was, down in Melbourne. Sun was shining. That strange noise, don't know what that was. Sun was shining, it was a beautiful day. Well, I have to say, the weather here in Stoke-on-Trent, very similar to the weather we had in Sweden. So, well, let's start, shall we, talking about Rally Sweden. Now, I do want to come on to two quite remarkable performances on Rally Sweden. But I think, first of all, we have to talk a little bit about the challenges of this year's Rally Sweden, because you know, the Rally Sweden organising team, it is a difficult task at the best of times to organise a round of the World Rally Championship. There's a huge amount goes into it. And you can be as meticulous as you like. And on the majority of rallies, really, that will give you a good event. But what Glenn Olsen, who's the boss, and his team have to do on top of all of that, on top of all that hard work, all of that planning, all that attention, that meticulous attention to detail, they have to keep their fingers crossed every year. They have to keep their fingers crossed for snow. And clearly that didn't happen this year. But, you know, they really, really did pull out all the stops to give us an event. And thank goodness they did, because it was a magnificent event. But there are questions going forward about Rally Sweden, about whether or not, because, listen, Rally Sweden is a snow rally. It's not just another round of the European rounds of the World Championship that has snow on it. It is a snow rally. That is why we go to Sweden. It is a particular challenge, and that's why it has its place in the calendar. So if there's no snow, for me, there is no Rally Sweden. Now, Glenn Olsen did say before the event, when things were looking a little bit dodgy, really, we don't need snow to make this event work. And he was proven right. They didn't need snow to make it work, but they need snow to stay in the calendar. That is for sure. So a lot of debate about what we should do. Should we go perhaps to another rally? Should we go to North America? Plenty of guaranteed snow rallies in North America. Should we go to Russia? Again, guaranteed snow rallies in Russia. Another suggestion I heard was that we swap the finish round with Rovaniemi, and we go to Rovaniemi for the finish round of the championship in the winter time for the Arctic rally. That would be guaranteed snow, always is. And then perhaps that would free up a slot for Rally Estonia in the middle of summer. And by the way, I am hearing things about Rally Estonia which are very, very worrying indeed. You will read the story on DirtFish.com, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that a resolution can be found to the problems that Rally Estonia are currently facing. It doesn't sound insurmountable to me, but it does sound very difficult indeed. Umo Arva and his team there working very, very hard, because Rally Estonia has really established itself over the last few years. But I digress. Talking about Rally Sweden. Yeah, that was the suggestion. Perhaps we go to Rovaniemi, perhaps then that frees up a slot in the WRC calendar for Rally Estonia. All of these are laudable. They're all decent suggestions. But the best solution is, without a doubt, for Rally Sweden to come up with a way of more or less guaranteeing snow. Now, what we have to be aware of is the very particular funding model, business model, that they have in Sweden. Rally Sweden is in the majority funded by the Värmlands Regional Council. Now, Karlstad is the administrative centre of that council. Torsby falls within their auspices, as does, I suppose, Hagfors. And because they're putting so much money into the rally, they expect the rally to be based within their governance. And, you know, they don't mind it going into, occasionally, into, for the odd day, into Norway. But the rally has to be based within Värmlands for that money to be available. The other thing is that the rally also relies on spectator income. They charge the spectators in Sweden to go into the stages. Now, yes, they could take the rally a little bit further north from Torsby. But again, you move north, you move out of the Värmlands region, you jeopardise potentially that Värmlands money. And on top of that, you move into a far more sparsely populated area. So, by definition, if there are less people within a 2-3 hour drive of the stages, your spectator income drops. So it's a double whammy, potentially, for the organisers of Rally Sweden. I think the ideal solution, and I think this is one that we'll probably find coming into play next year, is we will stay in Torsby. They will reintroduce remote servicing. Remember, the FIA outlawed. Is that the word? Banned, or they took out of the regulations remote servicing. You can have tyre zones, but you can't have remote servicing anymore. I think we'll find that remote servicing will be reintroduced, and we will go an hour, hour and a half, maybe even further north of Torsby. The rally will remain based in Torsby, and we will head for long days north of Torsby. The teams won't like that particularly much because they invest millions in their service park infrastructure, and they want to see that infrastructure being used. They want to see the fans making the most of it. They want to see their VIP guests, their dignitaries making the most of the service park infrastructure. So it's not ideal, but, what we have to do is put everything behind Rally Sweden because the organisers are tremendous. They are, without any question, the best winter or organisers of a winter round for WRC anywhere in the world. We go somewhere else, we then introduce other elements of doubt. We know we get the finest organisational team. We know that we get a team that will work 24 hours a day to make sure things happen. We know we get a team that are responsive and reactive, as we saw really in the 10 days, 2 weeks leading up to Rally Sweden this year. So, I have to say hats off to the team for allowing us to enjoy such a wonderful event, a truly wonderful event, with a truly remarkable outcome for two reasons. Elfyn Evans, what can we say about Elfyn Evans? Well, he led from start to finish. Should we have been surprised by that? Maybe not on the back of his performance in Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo, straight into a new car with a new team, onto a surface that we know he likes, but a changeable surface. There's plenty of ice around in Monte Carlo, and he excelled. He led that rally going into the Sunday. And okay, the stages on Sunday didn't quite suit him, and he did the sensible thing, didn't take any silly risks, actually day 4 into a new car, and he got a podium. What was telling, and what we should have, I suppose, taken more notice of, was that he was disappointed with that podium. He was disappointed not to have won in Monte Carlo. And really, when I look back, I think, well, we listened to that disappointment and we thought, is he just saying that? Are those just words? Clearly they weren't. Clearly he felt that he had the ability, the talent, the car, the potential, the position to win that rally. And he put that right in some style in Sweden. I said it in a report that I did from Sweden for DirtFish. He looks like a different man around the service park. Why does he look like a different man? He has no more skill than he had in his final rally, Rally Spain with M Sport. He has no more ability than the final rally he had with M Sport. He has precious little more experience than when he ran his last rally with M Sport. What he does do, or what he does have now, is a different output, a different mentality, a different set of circumstances that allow him to feel comfortable within that team. Now, because the way that M Sport is set up and funded, and because they operate on a minute budget in comparison to the other full manufacturers, crashing a car, writing a car off as the lead driver at M Sport is not an option. It is not an option you have. So there is always that element of that last 0.5%, 1% of risk, which isn't there. And it's not there at M Sport. Because you crash a car and there might not be another car for you for the next rally. There might not be a job for you at the next rally. That's all very different at Toyota, as we saw. In the past, we saw drivers having fairly big accidents, and it didn't really matter. Tommy Mäkinen tasks his drivers with going out and winning. And you win almost at all costs. We have seen him getting a little bit upset with drivers crashing in the past, but it's almost win at all costs at Toyota. And that's actually, as a driver who wants to prove himself, what a situation to be in. You don't have to worry about the bills. You don't have to worry about the bollocking. Can I say that word? I've just said it. You don't have to worry about the bollocking. You don't have to worry about the consequences. You just have to worry about showing your skill to the max. And that is what we are seeing this year with Elfyn Evans. There were question marks, I suppose. There were always question marks. There were always people asking questions. So that means question marks. That's the dog, by the way. There's a dog down here snoring, and I apologise if you can hear the dog. Hang on. Doesn't snore on cue, does it? But there we go. There were always question marks over that victory in 2017 on Wales Rally GB on those DMAC tyres. Those DMAC tyres, We don't know how much better they were than the Michelins, but they were significantly better. Elfyn Evans drove brilliantly in GB and fully deserved that victory. And do you know what? I think if he'd been on Michelin's, he'd have probably won it anyway. But there were always going to be those questions, those doubters. There are now no doubters as to the veracity of Elfyn Evans' potential. He is, make no mistake, a title challenger this year. There goes the dog again. Look, do you mind? Do you mind? I'm trying to talk to my rally friends. Do you mind just... Oi, wake up. Wake up. Look, oi. Oi, wake up. Shush. What do you do with dogs? Humans that snore, you push them on their side. What do you do with dogs? I don't know. You don't kick them because they're beautiful beasts, but it's getting very, very loud indeed. What was I saying? Yeah, Elfyn Evans, a fully fledged 2020 title challenger. He has, and I've made the mistake in the past of, if you like, being a little premature and elevating Evans to the elite of rallying. Those drivers who can start every rally with a realistic chance of winning it. You know, I said it after not Monte Carlo, I said it after Corsica last year, which he should have won. That puncture in that final power stage was just heartbreaking to watch. But it was premature. He needed a little more time. He needed a different set of circumstances. It was premature at that point to elevate him to the elite. It is not premature now to elevate him to the elite. He has started this season in the most magnificent of form, leads the championship going to Mexico, which will be another challenge. From the loose gravel will be a challenge. First on the road will be a challenge as well. But Evans, for me, just looks comfortable. He's got a 2-year deal at Toyota. He knows he's not there just to support Sebastian Ogier as well. That's the interesting thing. He knows he is there to do a job. And as I said earlier, that job, with Tommi Mäkinen's absolute endorsement and blessing, is to win rallies. Fantastic situation to be in. We really have to have a word as well for Tommi Mäkinen, because, right through this Toyota project, he has done things a little differently. Remember at the very start of the project when they were testing the car, and we saw that car, and it looked awful. It looked really awful, and there were all sorts of stories coming out of Popola about discontent amongst various engineers and all the rest, and we're saying, Tommy, maybe you're not quite doing this right. And he got quite upset about it, and he said, I'll do this my way, thank you very much. And Tommy's way has proven 100% to be the right way. You know, we saw that wonderful victory in the first year with Jari-Matti Latvala in Sweden. And we saw a manufacturer's title as well in the second year, didn't we? And, he does things right. And don't forget that Tommi Mäkinen obviously made a decision at the end of last year. Meek wasn't going to have his contract renewed, nor was Latvala. He needed 2 drivers. And he made 2 very brave choices. You know, there were a number of very competent drivers on the phone to Mäkinen wanting that second seat. You know, there was Mads Osberg, there was Craig Breen, there was Andreas Mikkelsen, there was Hayden Padden. I'm sure I've forgotten others. But there were a number of drivers who were after that seat. And he chose Elfyn Evans. Now, at the end of last year, you could have chosen any one of those drivers and made a very, very good case for them being the right driver. Any one of them. They were all very, very evenly matched on the face of it. But Mäkinen saw something very special. Remember, he had been linked in the past with Elfyn Evans. He's obviously seen something very special there. He knew that if he put his arm around him, brought him into the Popola family, that he could unlock that extra little, shall we say it's 1%, 0.75% perhaps, that was needed to potentially turn Evans into a champion. Looks like he's done it. A brave choice. Once again, Mäkinen making the right choice. Now, the second of his right choices, quite clearly in terms of drivers, was Kalle Rovanpera. Dearie me. Now, I put my hand up. Whenever I give you my opinion, whenever I make judgments, always based on my knowledge, my experience, and my ability perhaps to try and analyse and work things out. And quite often it's speculation, but at the end of last year when we heard about this setup, I thought, what a lot of pressure on Kalle Rovanpera. We know how important the manufacturer's title is these days to teams in the WRC, and I thought, that's just too much pressure. And I really did envisage a situation where they would swap potentially for manufacturer points, they would swap Rovanpera out, bring in Latvala. And Sweden was one of those where I thought you would be mad not to do that. And then clearly they weren't going to do that at all. Rovanpera was there. He is the team. He is in the team. And I thought, well, you're throwing away the manufacturers because, we look back at Rovanpera's last 2 or 3 seasons in the WRC and he's been a very slow starter. He's made lots of mistakes early on in the season. And in the Manufacturers' Championship, you can't afford to do that. That's not been a question. It's not been a doubt. It's not been a factor because Rovanpera has been sensationally magnificent. Sensationally magnificent. Again, a bit like Evans in Monte, we maybe should have taken more note of Rovanpera's debut in Monte. It was a stunning debut. And what did he finish? Fifth or sixth in Monte Carlo without really stretching himself. Used his head, showed his intelligence, showed his speed when he had to. Came to Sweden and showed the impetuosity of youth. He didn't care who he was fighting against. He didn't care about the number of titles, about the man he was chasing down. He didn't care really about the fact the man he was chasing down on that final power stage was his teammate. He just wanted to show that he could go fast. And he went fast, sensationally fast, comfortably. How scary is that? It was comfortable for him. He feels there is more to come from that car. Rovanpera's podium, and his podium was sensational enough, but for me, that performance on the final stage of the rally was probably the best single stage we will see this year. It'll take a lot to beat that in terms of a stage performance from anyone this year. Maybe, for those who like to make lists of things, I imagine that would fall into the top 10 of stage performances in rallying history. From such a youngster with so little experience, hunting down such an unbelievable talent and not getting phased and setting the most remarkable time. I think it's probably right up there in the top 10, anyone's top 10 of stage performances. And as I say, the potential with Rovanpera, we've had to rip up the rule books and we've had to throw them away. You can only base things on what you know. You can only base protestations, you can only base your thoughts and opinions on what history tells us and what you know and what you have a gut instinct for. And the history told us that what Rovanpera did in Sweden was impossible to do. These new World Rally cars, you do not get into them and master them. Master is the word. You don't master them immediately. It takes time. We thought, okay, Rovanpera is very special, so that time it takes might be 6 or 7 months. Nonsense. Throw that out the window. Rip up that rule book. Rewrite the rules. Rewrite them with Rovanpera's name as the reference. Because he's proven that you can get into these cars and with talent. He hasn't got talent. He has got something more than talent. Something greater and higher than talent. And I don't know what it is. But he's proven something out there this weekend, and he's proven that I think he is going to be a real challenger for podiums this year without any doubt. We'll see how he gets on the loose gravel again. But for podiums, for sure, he's shown he's got the pace, he's shown he's got the bravery, he's shown he has bucket loads of ability. What a weekend in terms of performances. It might only have been 9 stages, it might only have been 151 kilometres, but it was 151 of the finest kilometres we will see in a very, very long time indeed. Magnificent performance. Quick word, perhaps, about Ott Tänak. I did some driver ratings this week for Motorsport News. I gave him 8 out of 10. I thought it was a great performance considering where he had come from. And then at the end of the rally, what he told DirtFish.com, me at DirtFish.com, that he was very close to not being fit enough to compete on Rally Sweden. Couldn't do up his belts the week before when he tried to get into a rally car in Estonia. He bounced back, set some great times, looked moderately comfortable in the car, and he picked up some really good points. The encouraging thing from Tänak's point of view, and the worrying thing from Ogier's, from Neuville's point of view, from now Evans's point of view as title challengers, is that he does recognise that that car has the potential to go quicker. It was quick enough, wasn't it, in Sweden? But he says, I can see where we can go quicker in this car. It will take him a little bit of time. But Tänak will get into that team, he will get into that car, he will get into his season, and he will rapidly claw back those points he gave to his rivals in Monte Carlo. And I thought it was a very fine performance from Tänak. And then if we talk about our 4th title contender, and who haven't we talked about yet? We talked a little bit about Ogier. Talk about Neuville, not a bad performance. Not a great performance, little bit lackluster after the performance we saw in Monte Carlo. but he's got the points. He's got a great starting position. Well, I say great, he's second on the road, isn't he? When we go to Mexico, I fully expect to see young Neuville back to his very, very best in Mexico. Mexico's going to be quite a difficult one to call, but I think Mexico, we'll talk about it before the event, could well be Tanak's event with his starting position. But, you know, our challengers, our title challengers this year, it is 2 rounds in, shaping up once again to be remarkably interesting. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about, that dog just keeps snoring. She keeps snoring. I apologise if you can hear her. She's a really lovely girl. She's an old girl. That's why she snores. Is it only old people that snore? I don't know. Old dogs anyway. Let me tell you a little bit about the third, fourth, whatever subject it is. Oliver Ciesla announced again on DirtFish.com that he was stepping down as the boss of the WRC Promoter. Now, what I've got to say about Oliver Ciesla is that personally, you know, we've had our moments, Oliver and I. We've not always agreed on things. Oliver has been a little bit critical at times of the fact that people express opinions that he doesn't agree with, that aren't his opinions. And that's absolutely his prerogative. He can be in that position. He can say that, as can the journalists who perhaps express these contra views, contra opinions. But as the boss of the WRC, Oliver Ciesla has done the most remarkable job. This championship was on its knees when he took over in 2012. The ship was sinking. He managed to refloat the ship. He raised the sails. He put wind into the sails, and he sailed the WRC ship into calmer, more prosperous waters. I just think that he says he's done the hard work, and my goodness me, he has done some hard work. He has done some great work. He has stabilised the championship, brought manufacturers in, taken the championship to a truly global championship, brought in some great new rounds. He's had a couple of misses along the way in terms of where he's tried to go geographically, but in the majority, he has been successful. And he says his job's done. You know, if we go back to the ship analogy, we are sitting in the calm, but maybe it's the calm before the storm. I think the WRC has some choppy waters ahead of it. You know, there's a lot of debate about the 2022 regulations. There shouldn't be any debate at this point. We should be getting ahead with the development and the building of these new cars, but we're not. We're still debating it. You know, the promoter has a very big part to play with the FIA and the teams and the other stakeholders in defining and publishing those regulations as expediently as possible. Now, you know, maybe they will be published before Oliver retires in June. I hope they are, because, as I say, I think we've got choppy waters ahead, and it will take a big, big man to step into the boots of Oliver Ciesla and to continue the great work that he has done. So what I would say, Oliver, is, you know, as I said earlier, you and I perhaps haven't always seen eye to eye, but that what has underlined our relationship, certainly from my end, is that I have massive respect for the job that you have done and massive gratitude for the championship that I love, that I've worked in for nearly 20 years. The fact that, you know, you did your bit to save this championship. You really did. And you will forever be remembered by people around the world as the man who really did drag it by the scruff of the neck and pull it right back up to where it belongs. So we wish Oliver Ciesla the best of luck wherever he may go. And, you know, he goes with our best wishes, and he goes knowing that he will always have a warm welcome in the WRC service park. So that's it, folks, from my kitchen table in my new kitchen. You might see this kitchen once or twice but in the coming months, but I am travelling rather a lot, so you may well see some more beaches, you might see some deserts, you might see some beautiful cityscapes. Who knows where the next kitchen table may come from. Folks, once again, oh, by the way, how could I forget? Look, sitting behind us, I have some more news. MRF Tyres, one of our partners at the kitchen table. Obviously a full campaign this year in the ERC with Craig Breen. Now, if you remember to the last kitchen table, I talked about their winter testing and how well that winter testing went. What they're going to do in the next couple of weeks, they've entered a rally in Finland just to test the results from that winter run out that they had, just to make sure, to validate the results of the winter test. Craig Breen will be driving that rally. They've also told me, our friends at MRF Tyres, that they might well be backing a very quick young driver on a few rounds in the ERC this year. That's a cryptic message that I received the other day. I don't really know what it means, but for sure, as soon as we find out at the kitchen table who that young charger might be and which rounds he might be doing in the ERC, we'll let you know. And again, a massive thank you to MRF Tyres for their continued backing of the kitchen table, and obviously at DirtFish.com. It's been fantastic, by the way, to read all of your comments, to see your reaction to what we're doing at DirtFish.com. What I can tell you is it will continue to improve. You will continue to get more and more output from us. There'll be innovations as the season and the year goes on. We are listening to you, the fans, and we are trying at DirtFish.com to bring you, the fans, what you want to see from rounds off the WRC and other championships from around the world. So again, folks, I'm going to leave it there because we're well into this one now. But if you're watching on YouTube, what do? You subscribe to my channel, you like the video, and you leave some comments, which I'll try and reply to. If you're watching on Facebook, really, really, really important, because Mr. Zuckerberg doesn't like to share and distribute these videos unless I pay him some money, but you can do that for me. You can share the videos, you can like the videos, you can comment on the videos, and comment if you don't like it. If I'm saying things you don't agree with, comment there as well. So Facebook, like, subscribe, comment. YouTube, was that right? Whatever, I'm not going to go through it again. You know exactly what you've got to do. Folks, thank you very much for watching my thoughts from the kitchen table.